Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name's Alicia, and if you're new here, my husband and I have one son who just turned 2, and we have a homestead on 2.5 acres in central Mississippi. And if you're not new here, you know it's been a little while since I posted. Y'all just bear with me. I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. I do have a lot of things I want to share with y'all. One of those things being this old desk that my daddy kept and I recently inherited. This desk was my grandmother and grandfather's house, sitting right outside their bedroom, and I have very fond memories of sitting at this little desk and coloring, and I'm just tickled that I have it now and I'm gonna refinish it. If you know me personally, you know that I used to refinish furniture on the side when I was working at a bank before I came home when I had my son. Speaking of my son, apparently he's been using the microwave this morning. Also, I decided to make his birthday cake this year. We just had a very small party before we went on vacation. His actual birthday fell during our vacation, so we had a small party with family right before we left, and I made his birthday cake. I made a couple of trial run cakes and they were super good, and I was very excited that I didn't mess up his birthday cake. Several years ago, I got into food prep pretty big, where I like to put different things in the freezer that I could just pull out on the fly. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that. And a few of my main staple bread items that I always try to have in the freezer are bagels, biscuits, waffles, and cookies. And that is exactly what I'll be prepping today in this video, because we are going on vacation for a week, and by the time this video comes out, we will actually have already come home. But I want to have these breakfast items and the cookies with us on our vacation. You know, a lot of people say moms really don't get a vacation. You just take care of your kids in a different city, which is so true. But in the mornings, I would like to just be able to relax a little bit. We actually have some family members joining us on vacation for a few days while we're gone. And I just think it would be really nice if we had some homemade items instead of store-bought stuff. Now, I don't know what y'all normally do on vacation, but since my husband and I have been married and going on vacation together, we really like to eat out just a few times on vacation, but we like to stop and get groceries on our way in to wherever we're staying and cook meals in the condo, beach house, whatever we're staying in. Now, that's why we don't typically stay in hotels or anything like that, because we like to have a kitchen and cook meals. I don't know why, but he and I both really enjoy that. Y'all know that I don't mind cooking, and that's just always been what we do. Like I said, we're going to eat out several times. I have to have fresh seafood when I'm at the coast. So let me know in the comments, what do you normally do on vacation? Now, if you saw my last couple of videos, I believe I talked about the fact that my husband and I were doing a bit of a keto cleanse. And after watching this video, you will notice that we were definitely not on that keto cleanse during this vacation, because all of this is bread. None of it is keto. And we actually stopped that keto diet very gradually about a week before we left for this vacation. But I'm so glad we did that when we did, because there were actually these huge dunes separating our beach house and the ocean that we had to walk over. And I think I would have died had I not lost weight and got in a little bit better shape right before we left. So the first thing that I made in this video was sourdough discard biscuits, and they actually have baking soda in them. They're not actual sourdough fermented biscuits, and I've made those probably 10 times on this channel. I will link the video of me making those biscuits in detail in the description of this video. And the next thing that I made was bagels. So they fermented overnight, and then the next morning I shaped the bagels and boiled them and baked them. This is something I'm a little bit out of practice doing. I haven't made bagels in so long, and when I first started doing sourdough and I learned how to make bagels, they're so easy, and I made them almost weekly, and it had just been a while since I had made any. While we were on vacation, our family members that were with us, they loved these bagels. They actually taste better to me after they've been frozen and then you put them in the toaster. However, when I did these bagels, I forgot to slice them before I froze them. So I actually had to reheat all of these in the oven instead of the toaster, which annoyed me so bad. None of them cared. It's just the fact that I forgot that really bothered me. So if you're gonna do this, do not forget to slice your bagels before you freeze them. That extra step is just so aggravating if you forget it. Even still, bagels are probably one of my favorite sourdough recipes because of them being so hands-off. You don't do any stretch and folds, and then they just ferment overnight, and then you deal with them in the morning. And even this, shaping them and boiling them and then baking them, it's nothing difficult, and they really are so good. So if you're just starting out doing sourdough, I would highly recommend you make sourdough bagels, unless you don't like bagels, of course. The week before we left for vacation, I actually shared some sourdough starter with my friend's mom, and she's really been enjoying it. She used to make bread a long time ago. She did friendship bread. She and my mom actually did that, and she had heard of potato starter, which, you know, is not the same thing as just basic sourdough starter. But anyway, now this week, after we've returned from vacation, one of my family members that was on vacation with us actually got some sourdough starter from me. So it just kind of got me thinking, neither of these people were probably in the season that I'm fixing to talk about, but if you're a mom and you're in the thick of it and you feel like you've kind of lost your own self and you don't have any hobbies, or you just feel kind of lonely, I bet there's someone in your family or someone in your community that does sourdough, and I bet they would love to share some sourdough starter with you, and that would be a hobby that you could start. And I feel like anybody that wants to start something like that will enjoy sourdough, because it is not as complicated as everybody made it sound when I first got into it. And I'm so glad that I realized that it's a lot easier. So for that reason, sourdough is a hobby that I would recommend to anybody, because it's a hobby that could feed your soul and still feed your family. Now, like I said, I got started on this food prep about 2 weeks before we actually left for vacation, and my bottom freezer got way overloaded, and I had to put some of it out in the chest freezer off our carport. So I was terrified that I was going to forget some of this when we actually left, but I managed to remember it all. The list of things I did forget to pack is actually quite long, but none of this food is on that list. So, little victories. The next item that I made was actually 2 or 3 days after I made the bagels, and it was waffles. And like the biscuits, these waffles are not fermented. They have baking powder in them. So this is a sourdough discard waffle that I've made countless times. This was the first time I got to use my daddy's egg separator, which I thought was just the cutest thing in the world. Now I wound up with 13 waffles. I gave one to Lawson for his lunch that day. I wound up with a dozen biscuits, 26 chocolate chip cookies, which are not filmed. I made those probably before I started on any of this. And I had 10 bagels. There were 4 adults, 2 toddlers, and a small baby on this trip, and that was absolutely perfect for all of us. The only thing we had any leftovers of were the chocolate chip cookies. Everything else was completely eaten up, and I would definitely do this exact same food prep again for vacation. Everybody seemed to really appreciate that there were some homemade food items on our vacation, and we really just had such a nice time, and I was so thankful that I did this. It saved us a lot of time that we could just sit around talking. And yeah, we had to cook some bacon and eggs to go with these things, but it still saved so much time. I feel like food prep is time very well spent. I've never regretted time that I spent making something that saved me time later on. There are 2 additional things that I'm going to start putting in the freezer, and those are pizza crust and pie crust. I have not frozen either of those things, maybe pizza crust, but I don't think I've ever done frozen pie crust, so I will definitely be adding that to my food prep. But here's everything that we took on vacation, and we had such a good time. And I thank y'all for watching this video. All full recipes will be linked in the description of this video. I pray that you are blessed. Until next time, bye y'all.